Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are back for another recap, conversation, a discussion about this Diddy trial and Monster Diddy. Diddy's a monster. Diddy is a whole monster, y'all. Uh, the big bad wolf, that's Diddy. Diddy's a monster. Boy, boy, oh boy, but Diddy got issues. I would love to find some sort of documentary on Diddy and how he grew up because this was created. This monster of Diddy was created. I know a lot of people want to say that it was a result of him being famous or having a lot of money. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. I never start with things at the end or in the middle. I start from the beginning. And let me tell you something. Even if I became rich and had a lot of money like Diddy, I would not be Diddy. I would not be Diddy. So this idea that just because he had money, he is this person, nah. This is from long back, long back. I've heard some stories about him and his mama and how his mama grew up and who his daddy is, but I would really, really love to hear more about that. So if any of you guys have a video or a documentary or some show where it really goes back into Diddy's childhood. I don't want to hear nothing about after he became famous as Bad Boy Records. I want to hear about his childhood. If any of you know anything like that, you let me know. Because I love stuff like that. And I will do a video on that to see how we got where we are with a monster like Diddy. But y'all gonna be disappointed in me. Because as much as Diddy is a monster, and as much as this new information we have from Capricorn Clark, I don't even know what her real name is. Is that her real name, Capricorn? Did her mama really name her Capricorn? But anyway, as much as we've heard from them, more information about him beating women, of course, women always beating women. Just like my thumbnail says, where's Rico? Where is the Rico? See, what I don't see, y'all, I'm still telling you, I see a monster Diddy. I see a man that is abusive, beat on women. I see cases for definitely sexual harassment in the workplace, sexual abuse in the workplace, all these types of things. But what I don't see is I don't see RICO. I don't see racketeering. I don't see the criminal enterprise because what I see is I see Diddy doing all this work. When you think of racketeering criminal enterprise, it means that you use other people to do all this dirty work that you're doing. But Diddy didn't sell no drugs to other people. Diddy took the drugs himself. He didn't charge nobody for these freak offs. All these people come up here and testify how no matter how heinous Diddy is, they still like him. They still admire him. I can't get over that. I can't get over people who can sit up here and recount everything that Diddy did, but then say, I don't really hate Diddy though. What? What does it take for you to hate a person? You don't hate a person after seeing him beat Cassie to a pulp. You still don't hate a person. What does it take for you to hate a person? Because they go, that's just not who I am. Let me tell you, you can hate some people. If you're going to hate somebody, hate a Diddy. Hate a Diddy of the world. It's okay. I think God's going to forgive you. Come on now. God is going to forgive you if you can hate a Diddy. But I just don't see the Rico, y'all. I see Diddy doing this himself. No enterprise. Solo act. It's a solo act. It's all him. All him. No Rico. No big enterprise. No Pablo Escobar. All him. So charge him. Charge him. Load up the charges. Do whatever you need to do to put him in jail because it's all him. In fact, we're going to talk about it going forward. I'm going to play my little introduction video. We're going to talk about the fact that Molotov cocktail we heard about that blew up Kid Cudi's car, found out it was female prints on that Molotov cocktail. Female? Who's that? Who did that? So if he's got people doing his dirty work, who was the person who threw the Molotov cocktail with female prints all over it? Anyway, I'm going to tell you what my theory is. I'm going to tell you my theory. I always got a theory. And y'all can drop down in the comments all day long and talk about how silly I am and how I sound foolish and I don't know what I'm talking about. So what? I don't care. I'm just here talking to y'all just like I got my little cup of coffee and we just going to chat about it. Anyway, let me go ahead and play my introduction video. Don't forget to, what I want y'all to do, I want y'all to like it. I want y'all to subscribe to it, and then I want you to comment down below. Like I said, I don't always get to write back on all my comments, but y'all know I read my comments. I do read my comments. So I'll be right back, y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll be right back. So we're back, y'all. We're back because I'm starting with Tuesday. I know Tuesday and Wednesday has already happened, but I'm recapping Tuesday and Wednesday of the trial. It was when Capricorn Clark testified, and we find out the timeline. She was the assistant of Diddy. She was assistant way back in the day when we were still calling him Puff Daddy, Puff. So she still calls him Puff. We find out that she has been a assistant to Diddy since when? Like 2006. 2006. That's when she's been an assistant or working for Diddy, from 2006 all the way to 2020. 14 years she worked with this monster. 14 years. But I guess we're gonna have to hear testimony how she was kidnapped too. These kidnap charges ain't sticking for me, y'all. I hate to tell you, they're not sticking for me. They're not sticking for me. But anyway, they run down her resume. Come to find out, she worked for, before she worked for Puff, she also worked for his nemesis, which is Suge Knight. So remember this, she started working for Diddy in 2004. She ended up leaving eventually in 2020, which is not too long ago. She just left only because Diddy was getting in all this trouble. Let me tell you something, Capricorn Clark would still be there. If Diddy had not started racking up these charges and getting investigated, Capricorn Clark, she would still be there. So you talk about being a hostage for 14 years. She could never leave. In fact, she left and came back. We're going to talk about that too. I'm telling you, all these testimonies, they just falling apart for me, y'all. I'm telling you, they falling apart for me. But anyway, she used to work for Suge Knight, but she obviously didn't tell Diddy that she worked for Suge Knight before he gave her the job. And obviously Diddy didn't do no background check. He just hired people. He just hired people because next thing you know, on her first day of work, when she started working there in 2004, she said the first thing that they did to her was take her out to the woods, Central Park. She took her out to the woods in Central Park and started questioning her about the fact that she had worked for, he's like, I didn't know you had worked for Suge Knight. And if there's any shenanigans going on with you, we're going to have to dump you in the river. This is her first day of work. This is what she tells us. And she stayed. She stayed. She stayed, y'all. First day of work. So now you're not trapped yet. It's your first day of work. You're not in too deep. First day of work. You're telling me that Diddy and his security guard take you out to a park. And what they tell you is, I heard you used to work for Suge Knight. You lied to us. You didn't tell us the truth. Right? And let me tell you something. If there's those shenanigans, we're going to have to kill you. And she stayed. Yeah, she stayed, and she moved up the ranks in his company because when she started in 2004, she was his personal assistant for 2 years, 2004 to 2006. And then in 2007, she moved up to be director of marketing for the whole Sean John brand. Remember, that was big back in the day. And then after this, she became a global brand director. Before that role was terminated in 2012, because then, of course, Sean John started going downhill. So between 2007 and 2012, she was global brand director. She was getting promoted. So all this about, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to fire you and all this other kind of stuff. These folks was getting promoted and getting checks. That's why I keep saying part of what I'm talking about with Diddy is Diddy was a lot of talk with some people and no action. The people Diddy really delivered on was Cassie, number one. He beat her like a pulp. And he also hit on this woman, Capricorn Clark, as well. He loved hitting women. I haven't heard no testimony where he instructed one of his goons, his security guards, to beat up a woman. In fact, it seemed like his goons, his security guard, was always trying to get these women out of these situations, but none of these women would leave. They couldn't leave. All the security guards said, you shouldn't be here. Everybody's warning everybody to leave, but no one wanted to leave. I know a lot of y'all got upset with my video yesterday about how you going to compare Cassie to Ashley in my video yesterday about AD, Ashley, Love is Blind, because the thread I'm trying to connect to is when people don't want to leave a place, it's very hard to get them to leave it, even if you believe they're being abused and they are being abused. It's still hard to get them to move. That's what I'm trying to point to, that people have motivations for staying places. And people believe that if you're in an abusive state, the only reason you're staying there is because you're afraid. And what I'm challenging is I'm challenging that thought. I'm challenging the thought that some people can stay in places even though they're being abused, and they're not staying there because they're afraid or they're being kidnapped. They're staying there because they're getting something out of the deal. And here with Capricorn Clark, she has admitted that she was a woman who didn't necessarily have a high education, as she put it. And so what she felt was she had to sit there and endure all of this from an employer for 14 years. That's different from a kidnap. That's like me I'm working at Walmart. Let's say that they're abusing me at Walmart and calling me all kind of N-words and stuff like that. Let's say I just stay. Even though I don't have to put up with the racism that's there, I could leave. Let's say I just stay. It's not kidnapping. I'm not coerced to stay there. I need a job. I do need a job. But what I could do is I could leave and I could file a suit, a sexual harassment suit. I could file a lawsuit. I could win it. All of these people who worked for Diddy, and Diddy was his employer, they could have had a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit against Diddy and his entire company. They would have all gotten paid big time money, because this is a lawsuit. You can't do this at work. You can't treat your employees like this. You can't do this. I'm going through sexual harassment training right now at my own job. Everyone knows you can't do this in a workplace, and Diddy did it in his workplace. Now, is it a criminal enterprise, or is he just the tyrant? Is it the whole company, or is it Diddy? Diddy is an agent of the company. It's his company, so the company will be held liable. These people should have filed a class action lawsuit the minute this stuff, all this little $30,000 they get, no, they should have had a good lawyer and they should have filed a class action lawsuit. All this stuff that they're reporting, this is heinous. Absolutely heinous. So she started telling the story, like I said, that on her first day of work, that's when he went to Central Park, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And he told her, I didn't know you worked for Suge Knight. And if anything happened, he would have to kill her. And then she stayed. She said she was afraid to leave on day one. So we find out Capricorn Clark is actually the friend of Suge Knight's baby mama or wife. I don't even know if they was ever married, so I don't want to say baby mama, but whatever. They had a kid together. Suge Knight and this other woman had a kid, and Capricorn Clark is a friend of that woman. And she said on another time that he made a threat. It was about concerning a 50 Cent. So here we go. We got Diddy running around. Just like Diddy liked to produce these sex videos with Cassie, Diddy liked to star in his own gangster movie. Diddy's almost like, no wonder Diddy didn't destroy a lot of these rumors out here about him, because I think Diddy actually liked the rumors. Diddy wanted to be known as this thug, this gangster who ran a criminal enterprise. I think Diddy actually liked people thinking that about him. But now that you're peeling the curtain back, you're starting to find out that he was just a coward, a monster, and he liked to beat up women. All this other stuff they want to say of Diddy, I don't even think Diddy did a lot of this other stuff, because Diddy doesn't do nothing. He just talks. That's why 50 Cent is out here clowning him in the street, because 50 Cent is like, he knows that Diddy's not going to do anything. People know that Diddy's a lot of talk and no action. That's what people know. All these threats people keep talking about Diddy, besides the part of, like I said, him beating on these women, none of this stuff is even coming true. So next thing you know, Capricorn Clark is also talking about the time, and I believe this is when they're going to talk about the kidnapping, when there was some jewelry missing, a bracelet and a diamond watch. And Puff thought she stole it, or he didn't know who stole it. So she had to get questioned by the security guards for over 3 hours on whether or not she stole this jewelry. Then another time, they took her to this other office location, and she was questioned there, something like from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a lie detector test. That's illegal. Okay. In a workplace, if your employer comes up to you and says, we want to hook you up to a lie detector test, and they make you do it, file a class action lawsuit, file a lawsuit. They can't do it. Okay. So they did it to her. And not only did they do it to her for 3 hours or 4 hours, they did it to her for over 5 days. Now, at first I thought she was trying to say that she was kidnapped and kept in this office for 5 days. No, that's not what happened. She was there for all day, whatever, 9 to 4, for 5 days or 4 days straight. But she went home at night, and then she had to come back, do it again, come back, do it again. Diddy was never there. And Diddy never spoke to her about it. Diddy never spoke to her about it. So, hey, they're going to have to say Diddy never even acknowledged that she had the lie detector test. She said she came back to work after that, and they never spoke about it again. And I guess this will be what they're trying to call kidnapping, going somewhere by force that you don't want to go. Even though you went home at night and then you came back, you came back the next day. But I guess because you went by force, I don't know. It's making me rethink all kind of things. Should y'all be rethinking how you made your kids get in the car on by force and took them somewhere that they didn't want to go? I mean, is this the threshold for kidnapping? Is this the threshold for kidnapping? Okay, I'm learning. I am learning a whole lot. She tells us some of the same stories that a lot of the other people were telling, that, because she was a personal assistant, like all the ones that came there after her, she was required to have this fanny pack for Diddy with the baby oil and the lube and the drugs in the fanny pack. Everybody tells the whole story, which tells you this drug use with Diddy goes back a long way, because as she mentioned, she started working for him in 2006. So Diddy's drug use goes back a long, long, long way. A long way. But over all these 14 years, she still doesn't have a story of how Diddy sold drugs to anyone at all. The only person he got drugs for, it sounds like we heard, is for himself and also for Cassie. She also reiterates the fact that how, Diddy would go to hotel rooms for 4 days, and that's when they would have the IV to flush all the drugs out of their system. That this was going on with Cassie as well. She said her whole salary is $55,000. She was working from 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock, doing research, fetching, dry cleaning, food, doing all this stuff for $55,000. That's what she was doing. Like I said, class action. I would be rich. I would be rich. If I'm gonna do something like this from somebody for a week, I'm gonna be endured for a week, and then I'm gonna go down there and get me a good lawyer, and I'm gonna file a class action lawsuit and get paid. Good for Cassie, but she should have got paid a long time ago. No need to stay 10 years. You don't need to stay 10 years to have no class action lawsuit against your employer for this kind of stuff. These folks will stay in 10 and 14 years. This is crazy, y'all. This is absolutely crazy. She tells a story one time, she darn near that Diddy clowned Cassie so bad, he made her darn near hop around like a bunny rabbit. Talking about turn around, walk forward, walk back, just so he could show how Cassie pretty much did whatever he told her to do. And then he told her, that's why you ain't got no boyfriend, Capricorn Clark, because you bees don't be, that's why you bees don't have no man, because you don't know how to act around no man and do what a man tells him to do. And that's why he was showing what he could make Cassie do. And I guess Cassie was sitting over there gladly doing it, feeling good about the fact that Diddy was claiming her as his girlfriend. All righty, then. So they were asking, hey, did he ever have you run around and get drugs for him? She said, yeah, about 10 times, 10 times in 16 years. I just don't see the enterprise. I don't see the enterprise. I see Diddy. I see Diddy so very, very, very clearly. But what I don't see is I don't see the enterprise. That's the part I'm missing for the RICO charges. I need to see the enterprise because that's what this is, racketeering enterprise. I need to see the big conglomerate, the big machine, not Diddy over here doing all this foul monster stuff. I see that already. I'm good. Put him in jail, lock him up, throw the key away. I'm good. I need to see the RICO, the racketeering, the big enterprise. I'm still waiting for that. But every time somebody gets on the stand, that picture isn't painted well enough for me yet. That's why I'm still having a problem, y'all. They still want to ask her about all this money Diddy carry around. Who cares? He's a rapper. So I don't care if he's carrying around $10,000, $100,000. It's still just him. There ain't nobody running around picking up money from other people. It's still not an enterprise to me. It's still him. Still Diddy with $10,000, $100,000 walking around. Is it foolish? Yes, but it's still, for me, doesn't point to an enterprise, because even when you talk about he's carrying all this money around, what is he doing with the money? Are you telling me he's running around collecting money for people that he's bribed? What? You can't just mention money and think I'm going to be all enterprising over it, and you're not telling me, is it his money? Okay, so what? What's the big deal? Give me the enterprise, prosecution. Give me the enterprise. I guess they're also trying to say kidnapping is when she's at work and she leaves and he calls her and says, where are you at? You better come back here to this house. And I guess that's what they're saying is kidnapping, or making her come to a place she doesn't want to come to, right? So I still feel like as if this falls under the blanket of, like, let's say you go to lunch at your job. This is her employer and you're at lunch and your boss says, did you go to lunch? You can't be going to lunch. You better get your ass back to work. Are you kidnapped? If you don't come back to work, I'm going to fire you. Are you kidnapped? You're not kidnapped. Should you be doing that as a boss? No, that's why they have laws that protect you against that. But I don't still see it as a criminal enterprise. RICO charges, racketeering, I don't see that. And even when he started getting to a point where he was hitting on her and beating her and putting hands on her, one time he told her, because she was clapping back and saying she hates it here, she don't even want to be here no more. He said, well, if you don't want to be here, get the F out. Leave, get the F out. And that's when she said she quit, because that was her boundary when he put hands on her. But she quit in 2006. Remember, she started in 2004. He took her to the woods, to Central Park in 2004. That wasn't enough to make her leave. Finally, in 2006, even after seeing him beat on Cassie, finally, when he put hands on her, she said and told her to get the F out. She can leave. The kidnapper told her to leave. She said that's when she finally left, because she had drawn a boundary. 2006. Now, remember, I just told you she worked with him in 2020. She came back. She came back to the kidnapper, to the abuser, to the drug addict, to the guy that you can have a class action lawsuit against. She came back. She came back, and eventually she got wrapped up in this whole thing with Cassie and Kid Cudi, the affair that Cassie had with Kid Cudi. And she was afraid for Cassie. She was afraid for her and Cassie, because she said, girl, all this shenanigans you doing, the way you moving out here, you're going to get us all killed out here, because everybody's afraid of Diddy. They're not afraid of his criminal enterprise. They're not afraid of his security guards. They're not afraid of anybody else in the company. They're afraid of Diddy. Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. So we find out that Capricorn Clark ends up getting involved with this Kid Cudi thing, because that's how Diddy finds out where Kid Cudi lives, and that's when he goes to his house and breaks in the house through the open, unlocked door. And that's when, this is the other part where they say it was a kidnapping. Here's another part I can't get with this kidnapping. So Diddy said, get in the car with me, Capricorn Clark, because you're going to take us to Kid Cudi's house. She said she didn't want to go. So that's kidnapping again. That's what they're saying. But she got into the car and she went over there. And that's when, they called Kid Cudi. And then Kid Cudi ended up calling the police. And the police were coming to Kid Cudi's house with the sirens on because Kid Cudi obviously told the police that there was a burglar at his house that had a gun. And that's why the police came with sirens on, because if it was just, it's like a burglary in process. And by the time the police got there and Kid Cudi got there, Diddy was going the opposite way and he was leaving. But it's interesting, they tell a little bit of a different story that Kid Cudi told, in that when Kid Cudi was coming, they actually saw Diddy. They actually saw each other. But we find out that Diddy isn't on any security cameras. I guess the cameras were turned the wrong way. All we got is the dog in the bathroom with a bunch of toilet paper on the floor that we know that's been traumatized because Diddy was in the house. So we're trying to find out that Diddy was barely in the house any bit of time. That's why I'm not believing the story about the dog traumatized, because when you hear the timeline, Kid Cudi was only 15 minutes away from his house in Hollywood Hills, and the police came as well. So the time that Diddy was in the house, you want me to believe that in 15 minutes, he traumatized your dog so much that your dog was now destroyed for the rest of his life. That's what I'm saying. They're trying to make the RICO racketeering charges stick with this Kid Cudi thing because there was no burglary. Kid Cudi told the police nothing was stolen. That's why they couldn't do nothing. And they're trying to pin on this felony of abusing a dog. That's not going to stick. He didn't really break and enter because the door was unlocked. Nothing was stolen. You see, that's what I'm saying. The racketeering, all these charges aren't going to stick for me because they haven't proven him to the level for that charge. Diddy is a monster. He is a monster. He should go to jail. I really hope Diddy doesn't get off. I hope they can get him in jail for something else. It's almost like these defense attorneys are trying to push for a mistrial with Diddy because they know that nobody really wants to vote not innocent, right? Because people do want to see Diddy go to jail. But should he go to jail for the charges at hand? I think that is really the debate out here. Is there a person out here that doesn't think Diddy should serve time? I haven't seen it. There could be. But I think right now, where I am with some other people, it's the charges. It's the charges that I'm having a problem with. Even in the other part where they're trying to say that she kidnapped him. So he put her in the car, drove to Kid Cudi's house. He kidnapped her, forced her to get in the car against her will. She's saying that he had a gun, but the gun wasn't necessarily for her. She said that. He wasn't pointing at her or waving it at her. He was kind of taking it, supposedly, to threaten Kid Cudi. It wasn't to threaten her necessarily. But anyway, she gets in the car, and then she decides to tip off Cassie and say, Cassie, hey, we're at Kid Cudi's house. You know, Puff is here. He's got a gun. He's mad. And find out Kid Cudi is with Cassie, I guess, at the hotel where he took her to. And what Pdiddy then says is he tells Cassie that she's going to have to come and see him, and he's not going to let Capricorn Clark go unless Cassie comes back. So is this the ransom? Is this the point where they're going to tell me you kidnapped someone for ransom, right? But here's the trick. We find out that he told Cassie, I'm not going to let Capricorn Clark go until you show up, okay? I'm going to hold her hostage. So Cassie says, okay, I'll show up. But then what Diddy did was Diddy let Capricorn Clark go pick up Cassie. What do you mean? You let the ransom go before the person showed up? If this is kidnapping and this is a ransom and I'm holding you hostage until Cassie shows up, why would I let you go pick up Cassie? Wouldn't I hold you hostage until Cassie showed up? And then I'm like, okay, you could go now because the ransom has been paid. The ransom was Cassie. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. I got a problem with the charges. So of course, you know what he did? He beat Cassie like a pulp. He beat Cassie like a pulp. And Capricorn Clark was so scared. And so what did she do? She called Cassie's mom. And she called Cassie's mom and said, hey, I can't call the police even though Diddy is beating on your daughter, but you can. So let me get this straight, Capricorn Clark. You just got kidnapped. You're scared. You were forced to get in the car. You had a gun pulled on you. You had all these things done for you. And what you do is you call Cassie's mom to call the police on Diddy for her, but you ain't got nobody to call the police for you. I thought she was kidnapped. So you kidnapped. You have the wherewithal to call Cassie's mama to save Cassie, but you don't have the wherewithal to call anyone to save you. Okay. And did Cassie's parents call the police? Obviously not. So Cassie's parents hear her daughter's being beat like a pulp and they don't call the police. The only person who called the police was Kid Cudi because his house was broken into. Nobody ever called the police for Cassie. No one. Or themselves. He tried to tell the mother, I'm in over your head. Your daughter's in over her head. But I guess the parents didn't do anything because we never hear about it. We never hear about the parents filing a police report about Cassie. All we hear is that the parents had to pay some type of blackmail money, $20,000. Come to find out, they didn't even send that to Diddy. They sent it to some account belonging to Bad Boy Records. Like I told you before, I can wire money to anybody. As long as I know the bank account number, I can wire money to anybody. So, there you go. And then the money was returned. I guess by the time it showed up in the bank account, I'm sure some accountant saw the money, said, why is this money coming to the Bad Boys account? Diddy ain't keeping his books. And I'm sure that accountant, whoever it was, chief financial officer, sent that money right on back to them parents. So Diddy beat up Cassie. Diddy cussed them all out, told them what I should do to all you people. I should do this. I should do that. I should throw you off the river. I should kill you. I should do all these kind of things. And they were all just so scared that they worked for him for 14 years without a class action lawsuit. They could have been rich. They sticking around for $55,000. You know how much money you could have got in a class action lawsuit? Way more than $55,000. Way more. Even Capricorn Clark said that she thought that they were toxic as a couple. Not just that Diddy was a monster and he was toxic. They were toxic as a couple because as time went on, I think Capricorn Clark didn't really care too much for Cassie. And in a lot of ways, she said that Cassie would try to get Diddy not to hang around Capricorn Clark because Cassie probably felt that Capricorn Clark wanted to get with her man too. That's what I believe. I believe Cassie believed that because Capricorn Clark was supposed to be there to help Cassie with her career and such as time went on. But she said Cassie didn't really even want Capricorn Clark to hang around Diddy that much, probably because she was thinking Capricorn Clark was trying to become the new woman to do all the freak offs. I think Cassie also felt she had to do freak offs to keep Diddy entertained. She didn't want to get replaced in that category. That's, I think, where she also felt forced to do it because she said, well, if I don't do it, he's just going to get another woman to do it. So I think what she did was she wanted to maintain that spot in Diddy's life, so she did it. In a lot of ways, was she forced to do it? She was forced to do it because she wanted to maintain that spot in his life. But if Cassie decided to stop doing the freak offs, what Diddy would have done was he would have just found another woman to do the freak offs. That's what he would have done. And Cassie would have been on the outs. Now, we find out that Capricorn Clark doesn't even think Cassie was talented. She says she's got talent. Of course she's got talent. She's acting in all these freak offs, but she didn't think that she was talented. She said that Diddy had Cassie was in the music studio all the time. Cassie had so much music recorded but never released. So Diddy spent a whole lot of money and time on her being in the studio with producers and these top-notch people managing her career, but the music went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Nowhere. Is that racketeering? No. How many people have, and I worked for a music company at one point in time, and let me tell you, the record companies get to decide when they want to release your music and if they don't want to release it. That's not racketeering. That's not RICO. You being in a bad music contract, you recording music contract under a label and the label number never releasing it is not RICO. It's not racketeering. If that's the case, the whole music industry would be in jail because they do it all the time. I worked for a music company, saw great artists y'all probably never even heard of. They recorded tons of music for these labels and the music was never released. That's not RICO. That's not racketeering. And are those artists upset? Yeah, they're upset. And come to find out, Capricorn Clark, even when she left in 2020, come to find out as recently as 2024, she said she wanted to come back and work for Diddy again. This is the girl that got kidnapped and threatened in Central Park. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. She says as time went on, Diddy at first was really into Cassie's music, was going to make her a big star. But I guess he figured out after a while that maybe it was just that Cassie didn't have the talent, that he thought she did. People want to say that, the reason he suppressed her music was just because he wanted to keep her as his, sex slave. That could be true. But another thing could be true too. She didn't have no talent. I've seen a couple of videos of Cassie. Didn't look talented to me. So two things can be true. Two things can be true. And what Capricorn Clark said was Cassie was not talented, but she did have talent. Capricorn Clark was the one that even admitted that she was the one that got the burner phone for Cassie so that she could have the rendezvous with Kid Cudi. And this goes back to, I think there's a point in time where Capricorn Clark really started not vibing with Cassie because I think she felt that Cassie also sometimes did things that put her in harm's way, So Capricorn Clark didn't like that part. A lot of times, a lot of the kidnapping is around, like with Capricorn Clark, because of course she wasn't involved in the sex acts, but it was around like places she didn't want to go, right? Being told she had to go places she didn't necessarily want to go to, and that's becoming sort of the kidnapping charges about that, Later on, we find out that the Molotov cocktail that was in Kid Cudi's car, when the police investigated the arson, one is they tried to contact Capricorn Clark and Cassie, and neither one of them would answer the phone calls of the police. And come to find out, the police just dropped it. So they both avoided the police, didn't tell them what they knew. Everybody kept quiet. And I guess it just went away. But they did say that they tested the Molotov cocktail for fingerprints, and the fingerprints were that of a woman. So now you say to yourself, well, if fingerprints on the beer bottle, because it was a beer bottle, an old English bottle, and with a handkerchief with gasoline, that's how they made it. Now the question is, who were the female fingerprints? So obviously it wasn't Diddy's, and obviously it wasn't any Diddy's security guard. So what female would do the dirty work for Cassie? We need to find out who the other female could be, right? Who would do the dirty work for Diddy? Was it Capricorn Clark? She's the only other female we hear who's really close to Diddy. Was it Capricorn Clark? Okay, let's think about it. Was it Capricorn Clark? The other person I say could it be Kid Cudi's ex-girlfriend? If y'all remember the story of Kid Cudi, he's telling the story where he was over his ex-girlfriend's sister house while he was dating Cassie. So I'm thinking, you still friends with your ex-girlfriend's sister? What if that relationship wasn't really over? What if that girlfriend found out that he was two-timing her with Cassie? Maybe she's the woman that dropped it. Maybe she's the one that dropped the bomb in his car. I don't know. Like I said, you're going to have to do more than say it was Diddy who blew up Kid Cudi. I'm going to need some evidence. And now that I know that Kid Cudi was still frolicking with the sister of his ex-girlfriend, my question is, well, was that relationship really over yet? And shoot, who knows? Who knows? It was a female. The only two female in this whole thing is Capricorn Clark, Diddy, and now we find out about Kid Cudi's ex-girlfriend. Them the three women those are the only three women I know. But even after all this, even after the car bomb, even after being kidnapped and all this, and Capricorn Clark leaves, she begs basically to come back to work for Diddy. This is a man that threatened to take your life, did all these things, and you beg to come back to work for him even after you've left working for him and he was fine. You left, he didn't destroy your career, nothing. None of that happened. And what she said was, I came back because she wanted her life back. Your life back. So you, wait a minute, Capricorn Clark. You just told me that this man threatened to take your life, but now you're classifying coming back to work for him as getting your life back. And what I believe that is about is getting back to being in that world. That was her life, being in the Diddy world, going to the places Diddy went, being in that limelight, doing all of that, being known as Diddy's whatever, brand manager, whatever you want to call the title, the prestige, all of that, the recognition. And when she left, she was nobody. She didn't say Diddy blackballed her, but she was no one. And what she wanted was she wanted that life back. So she said she came back to the very man that threatened her life, but yet she says that man going back to him was giving her back her life. This is what I keep talking about, motivations. Motivations. They end up having some more testimony from a stylist who's Cassie's stylist. And he talks about even more stories, y'all, more horrific, salacious stories of Cassie getting beat on by Diddy. They don't stop. The stories don't stop. They just get worse and worse and worse and worse. This man tried to intervene. He would jump on Diddy to get him off of Cassie. And then he would get pushed around by Diddy too. And I guess this is the first time we hear about Diddy hitting a man. But I think he's part of the LGBTQ community. So maybe Diddy thought that was okay because, like I said, Diddy liked to hit on women. He loved to hit on women. But here's a situation where we hear that Diddy did hit him as well. He tried to get Cassie to leave, and Cassie didn't leave, didn't want to leave. People up here putting themselves in harm's way for Cassie, and Cassie doesn't want to leave. And people really tried to help Cassie. Another part, when they're talking about the Molotov cocktail, I guess at some point in time, all that evidence just went lost. LAPD destroyed it, got rid of it. I don't know what happened. But in the CCTV, there were no witnesses, nothing at all. You know, the stylist talks about how Diddy controlled everything about Cassie, what she wore. I mean, like I still say, I guess maybe because I worked for a music company before in engineering, believe it or not, it's still about the label controlling the look of the artist, which they did do that in music companies. They would pick out artists' outfits. They would tell how to do the artist's hair. It's just part of the industry. So I can't really assign that part to racketeering or RICO charges because it is part of the industry that you're their artist. So they do control your look. They control your brand, what you wear. You understand what I'm saying? So it's hard. It sounds controlling in one way, but other part is I recognize it as a part of that industry as well. That's why I don't know if I could call it RICO charges, because otherwise a lot of people would have RICO charges. I'm not going to go into all the salacious stories that the Nash stylist, witnessed with him beating on Cassie, because it's pretty horrific. It's really, really sad, y'all. And it just seems like over the years, it escalated even more and more. And as time went on, Diddy didn't even try to hide it. He would beat Cassie in front of anybody and everybody. He didn't even have to do it behind closed door. It was just so open, wide and open in the public. They talked about Cassie having cosmetic surgery to cover up her bruises and correct things on her face. And the fact that she sometimes had 2 black eyes is really, really, really horrific. I tell you what, if Diddy gets off, if he isn't found guilty, I'm going to be really upset with the prosecution, because there's no reason why Diddy should not be in jail. And if Diddy does not get convicted, I'm going to blame the prosecution for overreaching on the charges. I really am, because it's going to be because of their overreach that he's not in jail, because there's enough stuff that he's done that he should be in jail. And if he gets off over, because they can't prove the charges, the RICO, the racketeering, which I tell you, even I'm having a problem with, even though I don't like Diddy. If he gets off, I'm going to blame the prosecution. This is going to be horrific if Diddy does not go to jail for something. But anyway, that's all I got, y'all, for this recap. It was a tough transcript to read, a lot of horrific stuff. But we'll be back in a couple of days to see who else is going to be testifying. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye.